Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're walking in Memphis. Topic of this Walking in Memphis, CWA Wrestling from June 15th, 1985. If you want to watch the video I'm reviewing, there is going to be a link here in the description. If you haven't seen my videos before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. For Walking in Memphis, we go basically from commercial break to commercial break. Everything that falls within that segment is going to be ranked. With all that being said, let's jump right into this. We start the show with a tag team match with Lou Winston and Jerry Bryant going up against Jay Youngblood and Jerry Oski. This was an okay match. I was kind of hoping to see better from Youngblood. He's one of the wrestlers from the early 80s that I really like watching, especially when I go back and watch the old Crockett stuff with him and Steamboat, or even with him and his brother. I don't know if they're real brothers or not. But this was just an okay match. Youngblood and Oski pick up the win here. I'm giving this a 3. That's followed up. We get a segment with Tom Renesto comes out. He has the Southern Heavyweight Tag Team Championships and basically says that he's taking them from the PYTs. If you're not familiar with the PYTs, it's Norvell Austin and Coco Ware, who would later go on to be the Birdman Coco Beware. He talks about a tournament that's coming that upcoming Monday to win the titles and also to win 10 grand. There's going to be 10 teams. Each team has a $1,000 buy-in, winner take all. That brings out the PYTs, Coco and Norvell. Coco kind of has a little contentious spot with him. They do their little interview. The interview gets cut off, and I gotta imagine that this was something that was like a breaking news thing, because it happened the same day, or it was happening at the same time, and it's something I remember heavily being covered. We had a news break-in with Connie Chung, who I believe was NBC's lead reporter. I'm pretty sure she was NBC's lead reporter at the time, talking about the hijacking of Flight 847, which was, at the time this was recorded, an ongoing issue. Now, based on the fact that just hearing the flight number jogged my memory about this, tells you how important this was. It was a major terrorist attack. I believe, and I might be wrong, I believe overall like 17 people ended up being murdered, but there was a whole thing where they hijacked the people and insisted that 700 prisoners be let loose that were part of their organization, which I don't remember which terrorist organization it was. But yeah, it was kind of jarring and kind of interesting seeing this here. The funny thing is they edited out the commercials on this, but they didn't edit out this, and we're going to talk about this again later because it comes up again. After that, we get an interview with Jonathan Boyd and Rip Morgan, who are the Sheep Herders, which, as you may know, the Sheep Herders also at some point included Luke and Butch the Bushwhackers. This version of the Sheep Herders is going to be another tag team that's in the tournament, along with the PYTs, which is going to be a running thing throughout the show. The tournament's heavily hyped here. They give a little promo. Basically, Jonathan Boyd does the promo. Then we go right into a match, him and Morgan going up against David Haskins and Gino De La Sera. I think that's how they said his name. I don't remember the guy at all. This is a good match. I do like the fact that they won with the battering ram, which is a move that is associated with the Sheep Herders and even the Bushwhackers, which is basically using your partner's head as a battering ram. It's a good match. Morgan and Boyd pick up the win here. I'm giving this a 3 for that whole segment. A little bit weird, definitely noteworthy, but it was a good segment. I wouldn't say it was great, and I gotta imagine that there was a PYT match that got edited out because of that news break. But yeah, it was good. Not much more than that. That's followed up with an interview with the owner of the Memphis Showboats, which were a USFL team, Steve Eichhart, who has a check for Jerry Lawler's charity that he's bringing to give to Lawler from an event that they held together. He gives Lawler the check. Lawler talks about the tournament, talks about his normal partners, Austin Idol being in Florida, Jimmy Valiant fighting against Paul Jones in the Carolinas, which was cool that he mentioned that. It's cool that he mentioned all of these. And Bill Dundee being over in Louisiana, which he was in Mid-South at the time. Kind of neat that they mentioned those 3, even though there were loose ties between the companies. With the CWA not being part of the NWA and the other 3 being part of that, it was kind of a cool little thing for him to do. Because his 3 normal partners aren't going to be there, he had to reach out to someone, and he decided who who's the toughest guy I've ever wrestled? And he says that's Nick Bockwinkel. I can't beat Nick Bockwinkel. I don't want to be his friend, but I think we'll make a great team. So then we get a video of Nick Bockwinkel, who basically says the same thing, confirming that him and Jerry Lawler are going to be on the same tag team for this tournament, which is really cool. I really wish I could have seen that. I don't think I've ever seen Lawler and Bockwinkel team with each other. I've seen them wrestle each other, but I haven't seen them as a team. Overall, for that, I'm giving that segment a 5. I mean, anytime you get Lawler and Bockwinkel talking in a segment, it's going to get a 5, most likely. These are two of the best of all time that ever did it. What can you say? You have to put them on. We come back to our next segment, which is going to be Mark and Brad Batten going up against Billy Travis and Ron Sexton. Again, this is another tag match highlighting two more tag team members that are going to be in the tournament, with Travis and Sexton being them. They're managed by Buddy Wayne, and no, not the Buddy Wayne that was just talked about on AEW television. This is a different Buddy Wayne. Travis and Sexton pick up the win with what looks to be an obvious foreign object. For that, I'm giving that segment a 3. I thought it was good. Again, the matches are a little bit what they are. I can't really give them greats because they're not. They're just squash matches. I can't give them bad because they're not necessarily bad, but they're not necessarily good either. We come back from that, we get an interview segment with Buddy Wayne and Travis and Sexton, basically again hyping up the upcoming tag team tournament. They talk about a match they have with the Fabulous Ones, which they show a video of them basically beating up the Fabulous Ones. A decent segment. It's hard to follow up someone like Jerry Lawler or Nick Bockwinkel and make an impact, so for that, I'm giving this one a 3. I thought, it was good, not great. Next, we get basically a montage of several of the teams that are going to be involved. We get the Fabulous Ones, who are doing a video on the front of a Lincoln. And this is where the video quality on this specific video got a little bad because it was hard to even make out who they were, but it's obvious they're the Fabulous Ones when you hear them talk. Then we get Youngblood and Oski, the guys that teamed up earlier in the show, talking about them being into the tournament, which they do a little bit of promo, kind of generic and boring, babyface 80s 101 promo. Then we get an interesting one. We get Gino De La Sera, who was teamed up with David Haskins earlier, this time coming out with a Lou Freeman and saying that they're going to be a team in this. And neither of these names stuck out in my head to me. I didn't notice that they were anybody different, so maybe these were just two guys that were roster fillers because they couldn't find a 10th team. I don't know. For all this was kind of up and down. The best part's the Fabulous Ones, and even with that, the Fabulous Ones aren't the greatest talkers. There's a reason why Stan Lane in the Midnight Express isn't thought of as a talker. They did all their talking through Jim Cornette because he really wasn't that great at it. He was good, don't get me wrong, just wasn't the best. For all this, I'm giving this a 3 again. I thought it was pretty middle of the road. After that, we come back, we get a little interview with a referee, Tom Branch, who's kind of doing the heel referee gimmick here. Decent interview. I actually thought this was better than any of the tag teams interviews we just seen, and that includes the Fabulous Ones. And other than Jerry Lawler and Nick Bockwinkel, probably the best promo on here. And Jonathan Boyd does a great promo too. I can't hate Jonathan Boyd. He was good in his promo. Then we go to the main event for the Southern Heavyweight Championship. We get Jerry the King Lawler defending against Coco Ware, and we get a couple minutes into the match. Everything seems to be going decently. We get another news break with Connie Chung again, talking about the hijacking of Flight 847 and some newer information that the number of hijackers went from 10 to 12. I believe they had stopped over in Cairo and somehow picked up 2 extra hijackers. Again, at the time, this was a major story, so much so, in 1985, I was an 8-year-old kid, and I'm 46 now, and it sticks into my mind remembering seeing this. This was like the, forget what her name was, but it was Jessica that was in the bottom of a well, or the Challenger disaster. Just one of those real newsworthy moments of the 1980s. We go back from that right back into the match with Lawler and Coco. Basically goes to the end here. A decent match. I wish I would have got to see the whole thing because I think it was a good match. With what I've seen, I thought it was pretty good. Lawler's great. Coco, where I've said this 1,000 times, he's highly underrated. A lot of people look at him and question why he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, but never seen stuff like he did here in Memphis. I thought it was good. Lawler, of course, picks up the win. Afterwards, Norvell Austin comes out and they kind of jump Lawler, which, of course, Lawler ends up getting a chair, running him off. For that, I'm giving that last segment a 4. It probably might have been better if I got to see the whole thing. Overall, I thought this show was very middle of the road. The highs would be, of course, Lawler and Bockwinkel promos, the Sheepherders, Boyd and Rip Morgan. I always like seeing them. I always like seeing Coco Beware and Norvell Austin. The newsworthiness of the news breaks. But I can't really give this a high rating because overall it's just middle of the road. I'm going to give this a 3. It's very skippable. I'd recommend maybe watching it if you want to see the Lawler and Bockwinkel promos or see the news reports that broke in. I mean, you hardly ever see that nowadays, especially with everything going to streaming. Chances are that a news report breaking in on you while you're watching YouTube or Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus is probably 0. So the days of the whole nation getting information by news breaks are long gone. We're more likely to get notifications on Twitter or Instagram. But anyway, like I said, I thought it was very middle of the road. I'm giving it a 3. Very skippable. All that being said, if you made it to the end, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you see where it says join, that's how you become a channel member. Becoming a channel member definitely helps out. If you made it all the way to the end here, let me know who your favorite news reporter was, or is. Put it down here in the comments. Was it Walter Cronkite, Connie Chung, Dan Rather, Anderson Cooper? I'm running out of people that I could think of off the top of my head. Let me know down here in the comments. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and we've been walking in Memphis.